Hi everyone, and welcome to Agricultural Engineering 213. In this module we'll be looking at drainage and especially the effects of poor and good draining, and then we'll be doing some calculations with regards to drainage. Firstly, let's start by defining drainage. So it consists of three aspects: removal of excess water on the surface, removal of excess salts from the profile, and then maintain groundwater at a desired level. So if we look at those three in terms of sketches, you can see A at the top, there's a lot of water on the soil surface, and then if you install drainage pipes like this sketch shows over there, then that removes the excess water from the soil surface. Secondly, this will show you that there's a lot of salts accumulating in the soil, and if you've installed a drainage pipe, then just by continuously adding water and irrigating, you can remove those salts from the soil if you've installed drainage pipes, and then rehabilitate your soil. And then thirdly, you can see that the water level is a bit high, and so if you install a drainage pipe over there and another one over there, that will make sure that your water level isn't too high, so your roots of your plants can still breathe and have oxygen. So why is drainage necessary? The soil becomes waterlogged and brackish, so then obviously if it's waterlogged and brackish, there's no oxygen for the roots, so the roots will suffocate and die, as well as an accumulation of salts. So those two aspects then lead to reduced crop and crop failure, and it can lead to deterioration of the soil. In other words, mainly if you're a farmer, you'll lose a lot of money because you don't have big harvests that you expected. So the effects of waterlogging, if we look at four effects. Firstly, reduced oxygen, as said earlier. So if you've got too much water in your soil surface, what will start happening is that it will push the air out of the soil, and so there's not enough air for your roots, and therefore the plant dies. Secondly, reduced microorganisms. It's the same as for the roots. There's not enough oxygen in the soil, and the microorganisms that usually make sure that there's nitrogen, they end up dying. Lower soil temperature, so the colder soil leads to bad root growth, because the roots usually grow in warmer temperature soils. And then lastly, unnatural waterlogging may result in brackishness. So causes of waterlogging, we can divide them into two main groups: natural and unnatural. If we look at the natural causes, firstly, a aquifer or a dam at the bottom, as you'll see, an underground aquifer. So water is being pushed up to the soil surface. Secondly, is permeability of the topsoil. So you've got two kinds of soils. You've got a very permeable soil, and then you've got a unpermeable soil at the bottom. And so this water hits this unpermeable layer, and it is unable to go down into the unpermeable soil, and therefore it rises to the top again. If I should explain it more practical, say this is a very sandy soil and this is a very clay-like soil, what would start happening is the water would move through this sandy part very quickly, and when it gets to the clay part, it doesn't move quickly through the clay, so you get an accumulation of water at this spot. Thirdly, natural causes of waterlogging. You've got a hill-like terrain or a slope, so the water moves down if it's rained a lot or if you've been irrigating on the top, and then a lot of water will start accumulating at the bottom, and that can lead to accumulation of water and therefore waterlogged conditions. And then fourthly, if this is a river, then you'll see that a lot, the water being pushed up, and this is causing water logging conditions next to rivers or dams in flat areas. So secondly, if we look at unnatural causes of waterlogging, so this is scenarios that is sort of man-created that leads to waterlogging conditions. You get leaking dams and irrigation canals, excessive irrigation, destroying the soil's drainage permeability, terraces for flood irrigation, and roads and railways. So this sketch shows a dam wall, and this is the dam part, and so there's a leak in the dam wall and the water moves underneath that wall, which leads to waterlogging conditions on the side of the dam wall. Secondly, a sprinkler. So that's when you're using too much water, or sometimes not even too much, but for a while around your sprinkler, you'll have waterlogged conditions because the water accumulates on the soil, and especially if your soil doesn't have a high drainage permeability, then you'll see that happening. Thirdly, if you have terraces, then usually you'll have accumulation on the terrace like that. And then fourthly, if you are plowing through a soil type that has a sandy top and a clay-like bottom, then you'll see that occurring. And then fourthly, compacted soil like roads and railways, then you'll see this compacted part, you won't have a high permeability of water, and therefore the water accumulates next to it. So I think that'll be enough for today.